Yes, welcome to Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live. So happy that you are with me this afternoon. And so often, people are talking right now this year. Everyone's talking about the presidential this, the presidential that. I get it. Presidential stuff is exciting. I'm not saying it's not. It is. However, and there is a big, huge however here, and that is there are also people running locally all around this country, trying to make stuff happen on a local level, trying to make actually, in many cases, more impact than a president would actually make. They're out there doing it. I also often get a complaint. Larry, you libertarians, you don't have enough people running. If you had more candidates running, then I'd vote for you. Well, guess what? We have lots of them. And I have one with me here today. Someone who was running locally in South Carolina, running for the State House. He is the man himself, Joe Jernigan. How are you, sir?
Hey, doing good, Mr. Sharp. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Absolutely. And guys, if you want to follow him, you can. You can follow him on X at Joe2FreeSC if you want to, or head over to his website, see what he's doing at Joe2FreeSC.com. So, Joe, I have to ask you, there are many ways that someone could support liberty, many ways that people could help their local community, but you've chosen to run for State House. Why?
Well, quite honestly, running for office is something that I've always wanted to do from a young age since I was in high school. I would,
You don't look too old, my friend.
Yeah, I know. It's only been about 10 years since then.
There we go. Okay, there we go.
Right. So basically, honestly, there's usually a framework that most people go by. They'll run for city council, and then they'll run for state, and then they'll run for federal. There's like a general framework. Honestly, the reason why I decided to jump to the state level and try my hand at running for this office is because I personally feel like where we are at in the country and the state is at such a point to where if we don't have people at certain levels of power doing things to make reforms or make changes that are necessary, it's going to be too late. We're not going to have the country available that we want to be able to work from. So I honestly think that this is the lowest level in which I can have an impact on the large things that we need changed before it's too late.
Got it. No, I like that mindset, right? And I'm assuming that you've lived in your community for a while.
Yeah, I was born and raised in the Tri-County area, so I live in Charleston.
Oh my God!
Now.
So you've been here your whole year, your whole life.
Yep, whole life. Yep.
There we go. Excellent. No, I love that part because a lot of times people don't get it, right? They say, well, you have to run just because you're smart or just because you talk well, right? And those are good things. I want everyone to be smart and talk well. I do.
Right.
But there's value to knowing the people and knowing the community that a lot of people don't get. There is value to that, right? One of the reasons why I run for New York is I've been in New York my whole life. So I know the state very well, I know the city very well. So that's one reason. I see why you're doing it. That's great. So let me ask you, in your area now, what does that race, your race, look like? Is this you against an incumbent? Is this you, against two people who are establishment? Is it a lot of independents running? What does your race look like?
Well, I guess it's kind of fortunate in my situation. For libertarians, it's better for us not to have a gargantuan pool of people to choose from. In my situation, I am running against a Democrat incumbent. His name is Wendell Gilliard. He's been in the state house since 2009. I'll be the first one to admit that he's a good community leader, but he, in my opinion, my humble opinion, does not bring the leadership at the state level that we require. Does not push for the reforms that we require as a state. So yeah, it's just a head-on-head race between me and him. There's no Republican challenger. I was nominated.
Wow, no Republican challenger.
Nope, just me and him.
That's amazing. A two-way race. Guys, when I get excited when I hear two-way race. Why do I get excited when I hear two-way race? Because now we've got a chance for real impact. And if you want to help out Joe, particularly if you live in South Carolina, if you live in South Carolina, why wouldn't you want to have this guy in your state house? Go help him out. Donate. Head over to Joe2FreeSC.com. Click on that donate button and throw in whatever you can. Look, I know you might be saying to yourself, Larry, I got to give to this person, that person. Yeah, I get it. If you live in South Carolina, this is local. This is for you. If you can throw them a couple bucks, it matters. Larry, I only got $20. $20 buys Facebook ads. right? 20 bucks buys a couple t-shirts, a bumper sticker, whatever. It does something, right? Every little bit counts. So local race, if you can give please give. If you're in a spot where you can give a couple $100, couple $1,000, if that's where you are, you live in South Carolina, please do that. It does matter. Guys like Joe are making impact. So let's do that if we can. And if you say, Larry, look, I'm tapped out. Okay, I got you tapped out this year. No worries. How about volunteering? You live in South Carolina. He's got to knock on doors. He's got to knock on doors. But you got to do sign waves. Go do some sign waving with him. All those things you do. I know I bug you guys to so often volunteer locally. That's how I started. I talked my trash. I was starting to do the same thing. I was out there when we had Mike McDermott running for governor in 2014. I was out there sign waving. I was a striver. I was doing it, and I wrote checks too. I also wrote checks. So yes, so I wrote checks on top of it. I did all those things, guys. We do it if we can. Please do that. And at worst, if you're really in trouble, you don't have cash or time. You're watching this show, so you have time to like, comment, and share. So do that. Like this stuff, and you know what? Follow him on Twitter and follow his stuff. All right, so let me keep going. You got me all excited on that one. So I'm sorry to get me all excited.
No, you're fine. Thank you very much.
Yes. By the way, Joe is watching, and he says we need libertarian candidates running for all the seats all the time.
Very true. Yeah. Very, very true.
So
yes.
Joe is on the same page as you. Absolutely.
Yep.
So what are, in your case, what are like the top 2 or 3 issues that you are trying to push or talk about? You mentioned that the incumbent is not pushing for the things that you think he should be pushing for. So what should he be doing?
Well, for example, in our state, when it comes to our state specifically, in our area, we're an urban area. There's many lower income individuals here. In the entire state and in my district especially, cost of living is an issue. Taxes are too darn high. Regulations are too plentiful. And everybody can get on the page of not being able to provide for themselves or get the things for themselves that they want or need because the cost of living is too high. So that's one issue I've been pushing on, pushing for a reduction in the state income tax to hopefully eliminate it completely one day. Reducing occupational licensing, that'll help people get into the job market more easily. It increases upward economic mobility. Qualities of life are something I'm focused on as well. We don't have.
Hold on, let me touch one at a time if I could. The first one I want to touch is the tax piece. So you're in an urban area. Do you have like a city tax also? Like I know where I'm in New York City, we have a city tax and a state tax, and we got all types of taxes. Do you have that in your area also, or is it just a state tax?
Yeah, there are several local taxes. You have local option taxes, and then you have transportation taxes and things like that. So we do have that in Charleston County, which, is the county where my entire district is within. But the main target for the taxes on my end or our end, Libertarians end, should be and is my target is the income tax, because we have one of the highest top rates in the entire Southeast. Our top rate is currently 6.4% or 3%, and they're trying to buy it. Yeah, they're trying to buy it down to 6% eventually. I don't think that's enough. I think they need to go down to 4.5 immediately. We have the excess funds to do it, especially if we pair it with regulation cuts and other reforms that will actually increase revenue to the state.
Aren't they going to get mad at you and say, wait a minute, Joe, you're going to be cutting these taxes and, there's no way to pay for stuff, and now the poor people are going to suffer. You've got to hear that, right?
Yep. That's stuff you're going to have to hear all the time, and you're going to have an answer for it. And honestly, when it comes to these things, you have to balance out the budget. You have to balance out what you're asking for and what will inherently happen based on what you're asking for. So, which is why I was mentioning the other reforms along with the tax reductions, because
got it. Okay.
Yeah, you're going to have to reduce some other regulations, and you're going to have to introduce some new areas of commerce for people to be able to bring money into the state, which I can expand upon.
So with that in mind, you then shifted from that piece to licensing. Mm-hmm. What's the big, I bring this up often. When I was a kid in the 70s. So when I was a kid in the Bronx, one of the things that we needed or we used to do was things like braid hair on the stoop. That was the thing a lot of the girls used to do and make money, right? So, and now in New York City, New York State, you need a license to braid hair now, which is crazy because it affects almost only Black and Hispanic communities and immigrant communities, right? Yep. Look, white girls do hair, but not many of them, right? Most of them who do braiding, they're going to be Black or Hispanic and or immigrants, right? That's the most common. But now you need a license for that, right? And all those types of things. What are the types of licenses that you have to deal with where you are?
So that's exactly my point. I'm glad you brought that up because that's exactly my point. Occupational licensing is a problem. I personally believe the only tolerable role of government is to protect life, liberty, and property. So there are many occupational licenses in which I personally would not seek to immediately abolish or get rid of. I'm a proof of concept libertarian, so I believe in proving the merits of what we can do with libertarianism and then moving down the line. But exactly as you said, cosmetology license, get rid of it in South Carolina. You don't need a license to cut hair. Same thing with the Auctioneers Commission. You shouldn't need a license to be able to do a small auction with you and your pals in a garage. It's ridiculous the amount of regulations that people have on them. So if you alleviate the people of some of these regulations, they can become more upwardly economically mobile so that they don't have to rely on the state, so they can make their own money.
Makes sense. I like that. So you gave me two. You gave me the income tax, which Joe is on board also. He says limited income tax. He's already there.
Yes.
By the way, you also have a friend, Drugs for Robots, says Joe to free SC. So you have at least one fan here. We know that for sure. There we go. Yes.
Good to see you, boss, man.
There we go. So the other piece then you say is license. Got it. What's the third piece?
When it comes to the cost of living?
Just issues in general.
Okay.
Three things. You gave me two. Give me one more.
Right. So I was basically just hitting on my three core campaign points. Another one is transparency and accountability. From the very beginning of my campaign, I've been hitting a message of limited government that's transparent, accountable, and compassionate. Transparency and accountability is something that we need to increase in South Carolina. There's several bills. There's one or several in the state Senate. Same thing with the House, for example, that would require legislative committees, school boards to live stream all their meetings for free to the public and give them proper notice of that. So that is something we can do to increase transparency so people know what's going on with their tax dollars.
It's funny you say that because there's been those recently. There's been a bunch of, I guess, either news articles or incidents of local people being tyrants. Mm-hmm. And now because of video, we're seeing them. We're watching them just be horrible to the people around them, terrible tyrants, ignoring the rules, throwing people out of the offices. And it's starting to, I think people are starting to want this transparency. I think the time is right for this, Joe. That's just my personal view, because I think people are seeing it, right? They're seeing it on Facebook, they're seeing it on Twitter, they're seeing it on YouTube. Oh, there's a story about some person who's like, I'm the chair of the board of this thing and I am a god, right? And they're all of a sudden doing these things. And are you having that happen in South Carolina also, or no?
I haven't heard about many cases of that in our local area right here. I'm sure it happens in places. I just don't hear about it much. Right. But, this is something that goes beyond even legislative sessions. Like in South Carolina, part of their recent budget or whatever, for education, a rider in that says that school districts have to come up, or school boards have to come up with methodologies for cell phones to not be used in classrooms or not be on students in classrooms when they're teaching. And some people may hear that and they'd be like, well, great, students need to be, getting taught and not on cell phones. Well, what about all the clips that you see, in transparency, where kids will film something that their teachers are doing in school, their principals have done, administration or something like that, and it's tyrannical or it's over the line, sometimes outright illegal. You're not going to be able to have that peace of mind anymore unless you put cameras in every schoolroom and have it live streamed to a website, which doesn't make sense. Nobody's going to do that. And it's going to be extremely costly. So transparency is something that people have to understand, that as long as it's not harming, putting in jeopardy life, liberty, property, it needs to be transparent, period.
That's a very good point. I don't think people really thought about that, right? If making things transparent, there is a chance that you could affect minors, to your point, in school. Mm-hmm. But the same thing is, now there's a point to which you can't protect your minors. So you've kind of got both. You've got to try to balance those out in some way that actually makes sense and doesn't attack liberty, but also shows some compassion and respect for minors, right? You've got to, and for parents' rights. You've got to kind of do all of those. Not easy at all. You know what's funny? At a local level, I'm trying to think of anyone who's actually brought this up. I can't think of anybody else, Joe. That's impressive. I think you're the only one I've heard who actually brought this up at a local level. That's a good one. I like that. Guys, Joe's a savvy guy, so why don't you support him? do me a favor, follow him on X if you would. It's Joe2FreeSC on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. The thing.
We all call it Twitter.
Follow him on that. There we go. On Twitter it is. And if you want to see what he's doing, head over to his website, Joe2FreeSC.com. See what he's doing. If you can donate or help out, sign up. Donate if you can. If you can't, sign up. Help him out. It does matter. Every single bit counts. All right. So we kind of got those top three. I like that. But you have a slogan, I guess. It's called Empower Through Liberty. Why that?
I would like to address that actually. I heard you mention that earlier in the pre-brief, the debrief. Empowerment with liberty is a good slogan, but it is not my slogan. That is the default,
isn't.
No, that is the default slogan that was on all our candidate websites, the South Carolina Libertarian candidates websites. So we still have to get those changed. We have one guy working really, really hard on the background IT stuff for all the candidates on the state level. So we're doing our best to get our websites updated and things like that. But
no. That's a good thing that we have infrastructure. I'm not complaining. That's right. Amazing. There's a lot of states that do not have infrastructure with Libertarian Party. You do. No complaints. Very happy. The problem you have is a very good problem to have.
Right.
It's a good problem. Very happy. No concerns whatsoever. Okay, that answers the question. Sam likes it. He goes, love the plan, Joe. Okay.
Thank you very much, Sam. I appreciate it.
I like that. There we go. I do like that. All right. So let me ask, I guess, a harder question.
Sure. You
have an advantage in that it's a two-person race, right? You against an establishment Democrat. That's an advantage. At the same time, he's an incumbent. Mm-hmm. So you have an advantage that it's a two-person race, but a disadvantage that he's an incumbent. Mm-hmm. How does some guy like you make a impact? How does someone like you make impact in this kind of race when you have an incumbent, sitting there? Probably, I'm assuming he has tons more money than you because incumbents always do. Yeah. I'm assuming he has tons more everything than you because he's incumbent. How do you make impact?
So honestly, the biggest way to make an impact is just to try to outwork them. I know it sounds cliche, but that is literally the only thing you can do is try to outwork them. Put yourself in front of more people, get yourself out there more, spread on social media and online more. You may not have the money, but if you have time can equate money. It can actually be more valuable than money sometimes, the elbow grease that you put in. So that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to get in front of as many people in person as I can, give them a simple message, bringing people in from both sides to pass common sense reforms that will benefit everybody. Unfortunately, I did my best to meet the North Charleston mayor at the farmer's market, missed him by 5 minutes, like about a month ago. Tried my best to meet the mayor of Charleston this morning, missed him by about 10 minutes because I was there and saw him, but he had to wrap it up and head out. So he has my card though. So basically it's just going to be outworking.
So I feel like what you're saying is this is going to be you physically meeting people a lot, like going out and pressing the flesh.
Yep.
Is that how it works in your area? Like, I don't know your area. Do people expect rallies? Do they expect you to be knocking on doors? Do they expect you to be at the local parade? Like, what's the thing that the people in your area, like in New York City, is a general rule. Unless you're in a neighborhood, people don't expect you to door knock. It's not expected. If you're in a neighborhood in New York City, they expect you to door knock, right? That's the expectation's different depending upon where you are in the city. How about where you are? What's the expectation?
It's going to be a lot of the same. It's going to be a lot of door knocking and getting out there and physically meeting people, because the political events the political races that go on around here a lot are very on the ground driven. So I will be I will be hitting all the neighborhoods. I'm getting all the logistics for that ready. I just got my hands on the full voter data lists. So I'm culminating right now what issues I want to hit wherever I go. And as soon as I get some more printed materials out, then I'll be starting to hit the neighborhoods.
So we're going to need people to come with him. So if you live in South Carolina, go sign up, hang out with him, right? We don't want Joe out there by himself. We don't want that. We want him with 2, 3, 4 supporters. Yes, we want 2, 3, 4 supporters with him, carrying all the cool stuff he's got to hand out. We want that to happen. So please sign up so you can schedule some time to take an afternoon or a morning or a day or a night, whatever works for you, for your schedule, to hang out with Joe and go do some door knocking so he can make some impact here. That's really important. I appreciate that. So is there, I I'm ignorant to your race. I'm hoping that you could clear this up for me. Are Republicans supporting you? Are they not caring? Are they backing the Democrat? If they're not running, where are they?
That's a good point that you bring up, because for that specific issue and the fact that they have been wanting to topple Gilliard or the seat from Democrats for a long time, I've been doing my best to communicate with Republicans and offer to them an alternative to the Democrat that they otherwise would not have if he was just running unopposed again. So right. I have been attending the local Republican meetings. I have been to several local Republican events. And I've been getting in front of the relative people that need to know. I actually have somebody who may be helping me get in contact with some of the precinct captains and things so that I can understand exactly where the support is.
Are they giving you money yet?
No, they are not giving money yet. It's just an organization right now.
Well, the Scientific Libertarian asked an important question. He says, do you have a license for those opinions, sir?
No, I don't. I don't think I need a license for that.
He's a rebel. So, yes. So, look, I'm going to give you my opinion on this. If they don't raise money for you, they're not serious.
Yeah.
Right.
They've been kind of lukewarm about it. The communications I've had with all of them, they say that they'll offer some support, and I'm still waiting for that, because there may be some of that is actually material and can help me in my campaign. But so far, I've only had affirmations of support. Nothing physical done.
Yes. And I think what my opinion on this is, say, look, run, do a fundraiser for me. Do a fundraiser for me. Tell me when I can go. Whose restaurant can I show up at? Right. What VFW can I show up at? What American Legion can I show up at, so that we can do a quick fundraiser and you can have your boys come and we'll ask some questions and I can raise some money. Until they do that, they're not serious, because that means there's public acknowledgement. They do one fundraiser, there's public acknowledgement. That's what you need from these guys. And here's how it works. For those of you who have done this before, you know what I'm talking about. No one wants to say yes until somebody says yes. Yeah. Right? Nobody wants to be the first guy to say yes. So you got to get somebody to go, yeah, this Joe guy's good. Okay. Yeah, this guy's good. Once one guy goes, then the rest go, okay, it's safe to do that. Okay, it's safe. Okay, good. Let's get behind Joe now. It's got to be safe. So, yes. So, is there another win for you besides the seat? Obviously, I want you to win this seat. It will be awesome if you win this seat. So, I want you to. But we are libertarians. Yeah. And very often we don't win. That's just a fact. Very often we don't win. Yeah. So, if you don't win, is there a secondary win? An example I'll give is when I ran in 2018, my secondary win was getting ballot access for the state. So even though I lost the election, I had kind of a good consolidation prize. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I had that. Do you have something like that? Honestly, consolation prize. Yes. Go ahead. Yes.
No, I was just going to say, honestly, I don't really have, I guess you could say, a backup plan. If I don't end up winning this race, I'm just going to be doing the same thing that I was doing before. I'm going to be advocating for libertarian principles. I'm going to be doing groundwork when it comes to political activism. I'll be doing stuff when it comes to local government, pushing for certain policies and reforms. So if I don't win this race, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just trying to win this race to see if we can get the ball rolling faster.
So are you already on the ballot, or do you require like petitions or dollars or something like that? How does it work in your race?
So in South Carolina, I don't know how it works with other parties or other state affiliates or the national, but it's all nomination for us. So I had to attend the South Carolina Libertarian Party nominating convention, where I spoke to them, and basically they voted to nominate me to be the Libertarian candidate. So I am already on the ballot. I will be the Libertarian candidate running against Wendell Gilliard, and I will be his only opponent. So he won his primary, so he will be my opponent.
Nice. I'm jealous. I can't vote for any Libertarians in New York State.
Really?
No ballot access. Yeah. So I don't get to vote Libertarian in New York State. But so you get to. Good for you. Right. So yes, good for you. That's great. So I like everything you've walked down. I feel like a lot of what you've talked about is economics, which is great, particularly in urban areas. People realize that economics is critical. Generally speaking, in most urban areas, the wealth gap is huge, right? That's not a 100% rule, but it's a good general rule. The wealth gap is going to be huge. So economics matters tremendously. Do you think the local people are open to that? And I bring this up because if you remember, it was when Jacob Hornberger was running for president. during this year, he would often bring up the idea that he thinks Black Americans are ready for the libertarian message. We hear this often. We also see that urbanites in general have been shifting away from Democrats recently, right? More towards Trump or Republicans or nothing, or RFK Jr. or independents. They've been shifting away from Democrats recently. I think one poll I saw, up to 30% of Black males were considering voting for Trump. I mean, that's unheard of in modern American politics, right?
Right.
Do you think that the urban communities that tend to, be socioeconomically depressed, do you think they're open to your message? Do you think that's going to work with you also, or no?
I don't know if it's going to push me over the line to win, but I do know that the message is resonating.
It is.
I've tried my best not to bring up other politicians, even Trump himself. But one thing that I have been telling people or whatever, and I'm very economics oriented. That's what got me interested in politics in the first place. Ron Paul revolution, common sense economics. So, and especially in lower income areas, urban areas, like you said, there's a large wealth gap, almost virtually assured. People can understand the things that hit their kitchen table and their wallet. So the one thing that Trump did correctly, that in my opinion, nobody can say was a bad thing, was he cut taxes and he cut regulations, and people saw that in their pocketbooks. I watched my paycheck go up after he did that. So I can bring that same message down to the state level and say, hey, if we did the same thing, if we lowered your income taxes, if we lessened regulations so that it's easier for you to make money and keep your money, then we can do the same thing and have the same, economic prosperity uplifting that we had for a brief time under Trump. You can see that in South Carolina after you get these reforms passed. So I've been able to reference what's already happened in recent history and bring that to the front of people's minds and say, hey, we can have that in South Carolina also on our own fruition, not wait for the federal government to get better.
Nice. I'm very glad to hear that. Excellent. So let me ask you, Joe, is there something before we wrap this up that I should have mentioned that I didn't? There's something you want to cover that I didn't cover?
Honestly, no, not really. My campaign is really straightforward. Just a brief little description of myself personally, how I feel about libertarianism and what kind of libertarian I am. As I said earlier, the only tolerable role of government is to protect life, liberty, and property. I call myself a conservative libertarian because, for all of his faults, one thing that Chase Oliver did say when he was in our state that I appreciated was a phrase of proof of concept libertarianism. I call myself a conservative libertarian. I have my entire life because I believe in that exact message, that exact idea, proof of concept. So I'm trying to bring people in from both sides, bring them into the middle so that we can pass common sense libertarian reforms that will benefit everybody. It's hard to tell somebody that something doesn't work when they see it working. So if I could tell anybody anything for this campaign and supporting me, I would just say, don't be put off by libertarianism. Find out what libertarianism is and what examples have worked, such as the tax cuts and things like that, and see if you would like that in your state or in your local area.
There we go. Well, guys, if you like what you're seeing, do me a favor, click the like button. That button that is like does matter. The more you click it, the better. Algorithms love that. Algorithm loves that. So please click it. If you can share this, please share it. It does matter. Everything matters when it comes to this. And also, please support Joe. Head over to his Twitter account. Follow him, see what he's doing. Head over to his website. Joe4FreeSC is his Twitter handle. Joe2FreeSC.com is, all right, no, Joe2Free. Yeah, Joe2FreeSC.com is a website. You can donate there. You can sign up if you want to be a volunteer. Look, if he's heading off into all these neighborhoods, don't send him alone. Why would you do that? Go with him. Don't be mean. You live in South Carolina, go with him. Take an afternoon off. Take a weekday off, weekend off, a night off, whatever. Go hang out with Joe. See what he's doing. Help him out to move things forward. It does matter tremendously. Yes. Mike Voss is watching. He says, I do like the cut of taxes and regulations at the state level, shrink government. And this is what I'm talking about. A lot of people only think about this when it comes to federal.
Yeah.
A lot of people do. Local does matter.
Yeah,
absolutely. 100%. Joe, thank you so much for coming out today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, Mr. Sharp. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching. And do me a favor, if you're watching this on Twitter or if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, whatever you're watching on, when this is over, come back and leave a comment. They like that. Come back, leave a comment afterwards. I'll answer, or maybe Joe will answer, or maybe both of us will. Doesn't matter. Either way, leave a comment. It does matter. I will be on tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll be on tomorrow with Michael Termott with a post-debate show. And I'll be on tomorrow at 6 p.m. with a debate on libertarian goals and libertarian communication and ethics with Jeremy Kaufman and also Michael Leibowitz. It's a debate. They're going to be debating. I'm going to be moderating. You can yell at each other if you want to. I will be there. I will see you all